Hello and welcome to News in Depth here on TVP World. I'm your host, Marie Cato. Now, on Wednesday this week, Poland's President Karol Nawrocki announced an alternative to the broadly discussed Safe EU program, one described as Poland's Safe 0%, a zero-interest defense fund using Poland's central bank profits. The low-interest EU defense loan, worth almost 44 billion euros, still awaits the president's signature. But now, Poland's Safe 0% presents an interesting, if not shocking, alternative. With me to discuss the details and implications is Stuart Dowell, TVP World Online's political editor. Hello, and thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, good to be here.
So this is a fast-paced, developing story evoking a lot of emotions within the political elite. So I'd like to begin by first listening to a soundbite both from President Nawrocki and Prime Minister Donald Tusk.
We have come up with a secure and sovereign alternative to the SAFE program, one with no financial strings attached. I like to call it zero-interest SAFE. It will be made possible thanks to Polish investments and gold reserve.
I have three proposals. First, please sign the SAFE program immediately. We don't have an hour to waste. Second, we need exact information about the National Bank of Poland's real financial capabilities and about the plan for how this money would be used. Third, Poland's gold, which doesn't belong to Mr. Nawrocki, Mr. Glapiński, or Mr. Tusk, and which is currently scattered across banks in several places around the world, should finally return home. I expect swift decisions and quick answers.
So we have Poland Safe 0%, 185 million zloty. It's interest-free. It could allow Poland to finance its defense needs in a flexible way, independent of the EU. Why not?
Well, I'm not sure. Why not. Maybe it's a good idea. The problem is that we don't have all the details about how this mechanism will work, and the announcement that this is possible came out yesterday afternoon, and economists and financial experts in the Polish media have been talking all day about speculating about what it could be. Even the President of the National Bank of Poland had a press conference this afternoon, and even then didn't give really the concrete details on how all this will work. So until we find out, we don't really know. However, what I would say is that it doesn't really matter, because this isn't, in my view, this isn't a loan which is, this isn't a mechanism which is in any way supposed to come into effect. This is simply a political tool to get Karol Nawrocki out of a difficult political situation. Why is it a difficult political situation? Well, we have to go back to the party that supported him in the presidential election, Law and Justice, and when the idea of the safe loan came out last year, they were initially cautiously enthusiastic about the loan. Their line was that the government should not mess about, should make it happen, should not waste the opportunity, and should get the money for the Polish army. But Law and Justice coming into this year in a very, very difficult situation. They're crashing in the polls. They're polling with some pollsters at the lowest level since 2012. Their party is riven by factional disputes. They're bleeding voters to the two confederation parties to the right, and they've seized upon this safe issue as their big battlefield to hit hard against the government. There's a huge expectation that Karol Nawrocki will veto the Enabling Act, which will allow the money to arrive in Poland and be spent. And that puts Karol Nawrocki in a very difficult position, because he's the head of the armed forces, and there's an expectation among many senior military generals that they need this money, they want this money, and the government will be able to hit Nawrocki hard all the way through the rest of his presidency, that you had the chance to provide the money, but you chose not to. What this move does is that says, well, now I have my own proposal. It sounds good, 0%, and it pushes the ball across the court to the government. Now they have to explain themselves why they want to push forward with the SAFE, with the European Union SAFE, which for sure they want to. And it really reverses the whole political dynamic of this situation.
Absolutely. It seems to be really bubbling over. But now let's talk a little bit about the SAFE program, the EU SAFE program. How does it differ from the alternative that Nawrocki is proposing? Why is it presented as the better option? Because as Nawrocki told reporters, we have a concrete Polish alternative that will not involve interest payments or loans lasting until 2070.
Well, the government side have already said, Donald Tusk in the clip that we saw, is saying that this money's already on the table. It's there to be taken. We can sign everything straight away. There are I believe more than 100 procurement projects, 80% of which will be within Poland. And that money can be used straight away. But what it really gets at is two different visions of Poland's security. The opposition and Karol Nawrocki see Poland's security as being closely allied with the United States, purchasing weapons from the United States when necessary, although of course some in Poland. And that's their way. And the government, of course, sees a close alignment with Europe. And the opposition have got huge problems as well with the way that the safe loan could work.
So if we're talking about Poland's vision for defence and security, tell us a little bit about how that might be if Nawrocki and the opposition actually view the US as a stronger ally or a more strategic ally. What does that mean for Poland if indeed we were supposed to go with the US as a more important ally for Poland's defence vision?
Well, we know that it would involve aligning. In order to have a close relationship with the United States, the Americans have said in the last few months that requires ideological alignment, and that's fine at the moment with Donald Trump and America First ideology aligns quite closely with Karol Nawrocki in this kind of midway that he is between Law and Justice and the two Confederation parties further to the right. But things can change in politics. There may be a different party in power in America in a few years. We don't know that. I think what this really gets at, though, is Law and Justice's and Karol Nawrocki's objection to anything that is associated with Europe, because for them, it means the European Union safe loan is a step towards defence union, in this case, defence procurement union, because the loan does come with some strings. The European Commission sets out initially what type of projects can be funded.
Tell us a little bit about those projects.
Yeah, well, the Commission sets out what type of projects could be funded, and then the government has to prepare those proposals, and those have to be approved by the European Commission. So Law and Justice's objection to that is that it kind of in a small way gives the European Commission some element of control over how Poland's defence budget is spent, and they see that as the slippery slope. This is the first step. There'll be more and more and more. So this is how they view it.
But in your opinion, what is Poland's priority right now, keeping in mind the situation in the world, Poland's defence standing, where Poland is located geographically, keeping in mind that there is, a war that doesn't seem to be coming to an end next door, the threat that Russia poses. What is Poland's priority right now in terms of developing its defence strategy? Keeping in mind that there is SAFE 0% and then there's EU SAFE.
Yeah, some members of the government have suggested that taking two loans could be a good idea, and for sure that would be a good way forward. Poland's in a difficult position because relying too closely on the United States risks falling into the way they see the world, which looks like what they want to do with Russia is enter partnership relations, which could involve some kind of delineation of zones of interests, and Poland doesn't want to fall into a zone of interest close to Russia for sure. So, and also the United States has declared that it sees European integration as not in accordance with its own objectives. It wants to partner with ideologically aligned national states, and that would deny Europe the ability to achieve strategic autonomy. And strategic autonomy for Europe is the best way in the long term, I think, to face down the Russian threat.
Well, let's bring in another soundbite. Obviously, lots of government officials have their comments to bring in.
For the safe mechanism, for the purpose of the safe mechanism, the Polish army has prepared the list, the purchasing list. The purchasing list consists of 129 projects for the sum of almost 44 billion euro. But we also created a reserved list. These are also the needs of the Polish army. And on the list we have projects for an amount about 20 billion euro. So if President Nawrocki has some spare money, we can use it to buy products from this list.
Do you think that's a realistic strategy, or is that just dreaming for the future?
Well, it goes against what Donald Tusk said a few moments ago, an hour or so ago, that he's pushing for the euro safe. So no.
So that's just dreaming and hoping for something that's completely unrealistic then.
Yeah, but like I say, this whole issue, the President Nawrocki's 0% safe is not intended in any way to be adopted, at least in this Parliament. It's a political tool to give Nawrocki arguments in the future, leading up to and law and justice, leading up to the parliamentary election in 2027. What we're seeing today, and what we're going to see, because President Nawrocki has 2 weeks left to decide whether he's going to veto the Enabling Act or not. And what we're going to see in the media and online is basically a kind of a battle, with two sides launching their arguments at each other, see which argument comes out strongest. Then he'll most likely veto, and the arguments will be used in the election campaign up to 27. So,
in your thinking, what is the likelihood that President Nawrocki will actually veto the EU safe? And then, if he does so, what do you think the domino effect will be? Keeping in mind that this coming weekend, we are probably going to hear an announcement regarding the new leader of the Law and Justice Party.
Yeah, that's another interesting factor in the whole thing. I think your question was what's the
likelihood that Nawrocki is going to actually veto the EU safe, and then what's the domino effect of that?
I think it was before yesterday's announcement of the plan. It was expected that Nawrocki will veto. All the people around him are suggesting that. Now, Nawrocki's comments are a little bit more presidential than the people working around him. And yesterday's announcement makes it almost certain that he will, because now he has the arguments to not sign the act, to veto it, and it means that the political cost for him not signing it is lower.
And then, what does that mean for Poland's standing in the EU?
Well, he most likely, in my view, will veto the Enabling Act, but the money will still arrive in Poland, just through a different mechanism. The issue with the Enabling Act is that the projects that the government wants to finance with SAFE are not just within the purview of the Ministry of Defence. There are also projects that fall under the Home Office and the border guards. Things like shelters for civil defence. They're all connected with defence, but they come under different ministries. And the fund, the enabling fund that already exists in Poland, can only spend money on strictly military projects. And they want to create this new fund that can spend the money in all those other projects. It's a technicality, but it's an important one, because Poland has to get all these projects signed within a couple of months. So that this 80% spend in Poland can actually take place.
But there is such a deep level of polarization in Poland. So let's assume that Nawrocki actually vetoes the EU safe mechanism. What is going to happen in the country? Because, you know, it's one thing, fair enough, I'm sure that, you know, what we're seeing happen this week in domestic politics, we'll move on from that. There'll be some other crisis, some other scandal that we'll focus on. But the level of polarization will definitely escalate, especially when we hear the announcement of a new leader for the Law and Justice Party. Obviously, you mentioned the parliamentary elections that are coming up. We're getting ever so closer to that. What does this actually mean for the broader landscape of Polish politics?
I think you're right in what you said, that polarization will continue. And this will carry on until 27, and this argument about defence funding will be brought up many times, because it's really the best argument that Law and Justice have had since they've had their dip in the polls. And I've heard from people inside Law and Justice that this issue kind of arrived. It was like a gift for them, because
a little hook.
Exactly, because since the presidential election last year, the two confederations have been gaining a lot of attention. They're riding well in the polls, and this is. It's worth remembering that this issue, Law and Justice are really leading on it. They're in control of it. Confederacy have their views on it, but this is really a peace battle. So it's really great for them. But it's interesting that among their supporters, of course, the majority of their supporters are in favour of their line, but not all. It is a divisive issue, and it plays well to their very hardcore, but not to everyone.
Do you think that this issue will not play in favour to Donald Tusk and his government?
Up until yesterday, the issue was playing out very well for the government, because they were able to paint the president as acting against the best interests of Polish defence, Polish army. And Karol Nawrocki's move is really, I wouldn't go as far as to say a genius move, but it's a very clever move, and it really changes the whole dynamics of the debate. It won't be decisive, but it's certainly important. Yes.
Just very briefly, as we wrap up, there are some concerns regarding the legalities and technicalities of actually using the profits of the gold investments that the National Bank of Poland has accrued in order to pay for Poland's defence needs. Can you just give us a little bit of insight into that?
Well, this is what some analysts...
This is where they can trip up, I think.
Yeah, the National Bank of Poland isn't allowed to simply transfer money to the government for the government's spending. It's prohibited from doing so in the Polish constitution, but it is able to pass profits. In fact, it has to. When it makes a profit, 95% of the profits, I think, have to be transferred to the state treasury. The problem is that the National Bank of Poland has made a loss in the last few years. It's not likely to make a profit this year as well, I think. Although Gapliński, the president of the bank, said that there will be a profit in the future. So, you know, there's an idea that the constitution could be changed if this is really what the whole political class wants to do. It's quite possible. To make it work if the constitution is changed, but in the current climate, that's completely impossible to imagine.
Okay, Stuart Dowell, thank you so much for joining me today. And that's a wrap for News in Depth here on TVP World. I was your host, Marie Casey. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye.